Over the weekend, my daughter played 3 games of basketball. So she plays rep basketball, as I've shared before. And the refs on the last game, it was yesterday, were making these calls, and the girls were getting upset because they didn't know why they were getting called for fouls. So during halftime, I went up to the refs and I asked them if they would be willing to share why they were making the calls. If they were actual, like if they, let's say a girl got fouled someone from behind, can you explain what it was? What did she do that made her get that foul? So one of the refs looked at me, he's like, "You must be an educator." So I was like, "I am." He's like, "Yeah, so am I." He's like, "Because some coaches, and I'm an assistant coach on the team, he's like, some coaches like us when we explain it, but some of them don't." I'm like, "No, no, no, we like it. We want the girls to understand because we want them to improve. We want them to get better." And myself and the head coach and our other assistant coaches are on the same page. Like, we want the girls to understand what it is they're doing wrong so that they can not repeat that same behavior and won't get called for future fouls. I mean, they're going to get called for fouls, but you know what I mean, that they're going to try and help them change that behavior so they don't repeat the same pattern. So today, and the reason why I'm telling you that story is because today is all about education. And because I love, and I come from that place as being an educator, I want you to understand things that are going on in your body, especially now as we're going into perimenopause and menopause. And today we're going to be talking about minerals and the importance of minerals, because for so many of us, and this happened years ago when I was doing renovations on our home. I was living out of our house. I wasn't eating properly. And I went to get one of the things I love to do, because I can't do it myself, is I love to get a manicure. And I was getting a manicure. It had been a couple of weeks. And the nail technician looked at me and the manicurist said, "What happened to your nails?" And you could see on every single nail, I had indents and ridges. And I was like, she's like, "That wasn't there a couple of weeks ago." And I'm like, "You're so right." And it was because I wasn't eating the way I would regularly eat, because I wasn't at home and I wasn't cooking and I was eating out a lot. So when I did some research, I found out that it was because, and there's a lot of reasons, but what it was for me was that I was deficient in minerals. So I started taking a multi-mineral complex, and within a couple of weeks, it happened really quickly, they went away. So now I know when I see those ridges in my nails, it's because I'm lacking certain minerals. So today we are talking all about remineralization, why we need minerals in this phase of life, what they do for us, and how we can get them in an effective and easy way to take them. So before I introduce my guests, I'm going to do a quick intro to who I am. My name is Andrea Donsky. I'm a nutritionist for 20 years. I'm a menopause educator, published menopause researcher, and I'm also the co-founder of wearemorphus.com, a company that empowers you to take control of your health and symptoms with nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, and research. And if you're looking for supplements, we've got a whole line on our website, so go check them out at wearemorphus.com. And please fill out our research surveys, because we're looking to publish more this year. So if you haven't filled them out, we've got 11 on our site. Again, you could find them at wearemorphus.com. Today I'm speaking with Caroline Allen. She's a health survivor and mineral enthusiast. Coming from a career in the corporate world, Caroline found herself struggling physically, mentally, and energetically. As Caroline worked on getting healthy again, she discovered plant-based minerals and how they can help the body naturally regain balance. Because of her personal experience, Caroline delved deep into research on why minerals are important in human physiology and how they work in the body. This journey took her deep into microbiology, molecular biology, cellular biology, agricultural soil science, and the study of plant decomposition. As a result of her research, Caroline has become devoted to educating people about the benefits of mineral replenishment and the specific efficacy of plant-based humic and fulvic substances. Caroline is the co-founder and CEO of Beam Minerals, which provides liquid, humic, and fulvic mineral replenishment solutions. Now, here's Caroline. Welcome to Menopause Reimagined, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. I'm really happy to be here.
As we were saying before I hit record, is I've been in the health and wellness space for 25 years. I'm a big fan of minerals. But I don't really know that much about humic and fulvic minerals. So I'm excited to have you on so I can educate myself too, as well as everybody who's listening. So I think where I'd like to start today's interview is telling us your story. Like, what even inspired you to create Beam Minerals?
Yeah. Well, about 10 years ago, I actually was in a corporate career in high tech. and, one of these 50, 60 hour a week women, with kids. And I burned out and I was in extremely ill health. I had flatlined adrenals for almost 2 years. I'd had really bad inflammation in my gut, even after being gluten-free for 7 years or so.
Yeah,
I still had, bloating and problems in my gut. I had candida that came and went. I had really bad inflammation in my mouth, with receding gums, bone loss in my teeth, which I'd struggled with ever since I'd had children. I had recurring sinus infections. I've had mold exposure in the past. I also have an autoimmune. So, I also have, maybe not exactly MTHFR with the vitamin B or the B methylation
I
stuff,
have
but
it, the
I
MTFR
have I have
issues.
challenges there, and also challenges with my detox pathways, like glutathione,
Oh,
and is
interesting.
really challenging to get into my body. So I've got a lot of I historically had a lot of health challenges, was not a well child. Okay. So I burned out of this tech career, and I was really struggling. And I met my now business partner, Dan Howard, and he suggested I try these liquid minerals that he had. And I was like, okay, sure. I don't take a lot of supplement, or historically, I didn't take many supplements, but I said, I'll try it. And I changed nothing else but taking these 2 little cups of liquid every day. And after 2 months, I went to my dentist and she looked at my mouth and she was like, what's changed? The pH in your mouth is totally different. The tissues look pink and healthy. And I had really deep pockets, like 5 and 6 for people who have mouth problems. They'll know what that means. And lots of inflammation and bleeding when I had my teeth cleaned, etc. Nothing. I mean, it was like gone. And she said, "What's going on?" And I thought about it. I said, "Well, maybe it's these minerals that I'm
Are you,
taking."
sorry, so are you saying that the pockets got less deep, or you're saying they didn't recede more?
I have no pockets now. None. My
In
gums.
2 months? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
well, after 2 months, there were a couple places that were still, like, I had 5s and 6s, and at that point, they didn't test my gums, but they could see that all the tissue, there were no those red spots anymore. The tissue just looked pink and healthy instead of red and inflamed. And when she cleaned my teeth, there was no bleeding.
Mm.
So clearly, and that's a sign of inflammation. So I was like, okay. So then 4 months in, I had my adrenal test with my naturopath, and we had been working for about a year, over a year, with this particular doc on trying to heal my adrenals. At my last appointment, a naturopath had recommended that I take hydrocortisone for a period of time to see if I could jumpstart my system.
Wow.
I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But she looked at the results, and my adrenals were 1/3 of the way up the chart with their natural sawtooth pattern. She was amazed. Said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I think it might be these minerals." Then I went through one season, and another season I didn't get my sinus infections, which I'd been getting them every 6 to 8 weeks, like
Mhm.
that often.
Yeah.
My gut problems, all the bloating, the discomfort with food and different things that I ate just went away. And if it had just been one thing, I would have, who knows what I would have thought, but it was all these things. And my business partner, Dan, who was my friend at that time, said, "This is cool. This is really great. Look at how well you're feeling." And I started doing research, Andrea, and I went way down the rabbit hole learning
Mm.
about minerals and how they operate in the body, how mineral replenishment occurs. And then what were these things, fulvic and humic, and how did they work? And I had so many aha moments that I went to Dan Howard and I said, "Dan, we need to bring this to the world."
Mm.
So
I love that. And what I love about it is that for so many of us, when we launch products, like, not everybody, but for you, me, like, it's like it comes from this place of like, I was able to help myself. Now we want to help so many other people. This place of like wanting to make a difference in the world. And I'm going to say, when it comes to minerals, so our audience are women in perimenopause and menopause. We know as we age and as we go into menopause and as our hormones start to decline, things start to shift and change. Our digestion doesn't work as well as it did before for many of us. And with that comes lack of absorption or less absorption, right? We're not absorbing our food, meaning our minerals as well, our vitamins, our minerals, our antioxidants, as well as we were able to before. So I could see how that works. So I'm going to talk just for our audience, but I could see how that works. And we're so deficient. Our soil is so deficient in minerals these days. We know that big organizations have already admitted to this, that when we're eating, even if we're eating a whole organic, we're eating salads 3 times a day, like we're still not getting the minerals and the vitamins that our bodies need. And then, go into menopause, it becomes even harder to get it. And I think that what you're saying, like, I just love hearing that there are ways that we can help ourselves to feel better by taking supplements or certain supplements. And this is an example of one of those supplements.
Yes. And, the thing about, this process of perimenopause and menopause, and then even post-menopause, and I was perimenopausal when I was in this, I'm right where your audience is or was. I was where they are. And what I know now is that, as you go to a doctor in perimenopause, they say, oh, you're just getting old, and it's true that things shift in your body, the whole triangle, what I call the triangle between your reproductive hormones and your adrenals and your thyroid, it all starts to move, and you have to begin to become aware and I think develop a deeper relationship with your body. The problem is that what I was doing, and so many women are doing, because we're taught this, we have an adrenal problem, we go to one doc. We have a thyroid problem, we go to another doc. We have a hormone problem, we go to another doc. We have gut problem, we go to another doc. We try to we think of our body as parts and pieces instead of a whole ecosystem. And my studies took me down to a cellular level. And at that point, I realized 3 things that changed my entire perspective. And the first was, the entire body is made of cells. Every single part of your body is made of cells. So if you're not thinking about how to support cells, then you're not able to know how to support the entire body, first of all. Second of all, what fuels a cell? 2 things: minerals and amino acids. And when I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have been mineral deficient for years. And when I had children, when you grow a baby in your body, the way that all of the structure in that baby's body is grown is by taking minerals from your body. So no wonder after I had children, my bone health and my teeth and,
They start to degrade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your mitochondrial function changes as you grow older, and this is definitely true. You lose some mitochondrial function. So and mitochondria are those energy generating units inside the cells. So if you can do 2 things: one, provide more fuel for the mitochondria that are functional and active, that's number 1. And number 2, if you can enhance the uptake of those nutrients into the cells. And that's what fulvic and humic do.
So let's go back to the beginning, because I love educating our audience. Why are minerals even important? What do they do in the body?
Yeah. Well, here's what I love to do, is help people really get this. So if you look around your room, every single structural thing, in fact, every single structural thing in the universe is minerals. If you took all the water out of your body, you'd be a little pile of minerals. And when a plant grows in the soil, it's why our soils are depleted. When a little pea shoot grows or a huge cedar tree, all of that structure is minerals that came from the soil. So that's the first piece. All the structure in your body is minerals. Secondly, inside your cells, you have mitochondria. So you have like 37 to 150 trillion cells in your body. But the mitochondria, which are they generate almost all of the energy in your body. And they go through a life cycle, kind of a process. And at every stage of that cycle, a mineral and amino acid is required and they come together as cofactors to make a heart cell or make a muscle, or, well, heart is muscle, but you understand.
Yep.
So the thing about it is your body makes a lot of amino acids. It absolutely makes no minerals. They all have to come in from the outside. So if you don't have enough minerals, it's like taking a light and dimming it down. And when the scientists that I speak with say that most people are operating at 40% or below the level of minerals that they need in their body. And
I
it's not,
believe it.
not just the macro minerals that we, heard about from electrolyte products and things like that. It's like
Micro.
the micronutrients, like 17 to 22 minerals, things people have never heard of, like molybdenum or vanadium. I mean, you're like, what? People are like, what? I ask people to name 5 minerals, and most people can't do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Nobody's
no.
talking about it.
So minerals, so they're important at the cellular level, and most of us are deficient. And I believe that most of us are, because like I said, like, and you said, like, when the food is deficient, how else are you getting it? But you have to get it from an exogenous source. So that's how that's how we could take it. So okay, so I've very familiar with the term minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, but humic and fulvic. So I remember hearing about it years ago, and I believe in taking a multi-mineral complex, and in order to supplement what we're not getting. Can you explain what the difference is between humic and fulvic versus other minerals?
So the difference is that fulvic and humic are natural substances that come from the earth. Let me describe where they come from. They are, imagine a rainforest back when the dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago, and a meteor hit the Yucatan and it killed almost all life on the planet, 75% in a few hours. And all of those rainforests died and decomposed around the earth, and they became these humic and fulvic substances. In the Himalayas, we have shilajit. In
Mm-hmm.
the UK, there's something called peat. In the Amazon basin, they have something called terra preta, and we use a product or a substance called humate. There's other names for these humic and fulvic substances.
Okay.
Um, it's a dry crystalline substance, and out of that we extract these 2 molecules, humic and fulvic. Now, the cool thing about these molecules is that they carry with them the full spectrum of minerals that your body needs in the natural ratios that your body utilizes, which is
Okay.
a really cool thing, because you can take a lot of them because they continue to maintain balance in your body. So that's the first cool thing about them. The next thing is that these 2 molecules have amazing capacities beyond their mineral, um, uh, uh, beyond what they have in minerals. The first thing is the fulvic. So the fulvic is a small molecule. It's much smaller than a cell, and it's a very, very effective flavonoid. It carries the full spectrum of minerals that are associated with its molecule, as well as other things that cling to it, like amino acids and other nutritional elements, and it carries those through the cell wall. Now, what's really cool is that your body recognizes fulvic as a beneficial substance because it actually evolved, the cells in your body evolved on Earth right next to fulvic. And I actually, from my research, I really believe that this is like Mother Nature's technology for getting minerals and nutrients into the cell. So any channel that opens in the cell wall will let this molecule through. So
Okay.
rather than, say, carrying one magnesium molecule through the cell, it will carry this full spectrum of minerals into the cell. And then it does what no other molecule on Earth can do. It changes its polarity. And this is like, in science, they're amazed by this capacity, and you end up studying about quantum mechanics when you study, like, how does that happen? So it changes its polarity, and kind of like a magnet, if you had things clinging to a magnet and you were able to turn it off, those things fall off inside the cell. So it's literally a delivery mechanism for nutrients from your bloodstream into the cell.
That's so cool. So like, it's like they're dropping it off. They're like, okay, here we go, and they're dropping it. That's actually very interesting. So it's found in nature. So I didn't realize that Shilajit is also like a similar concept. Like I know it's good for gut health, but again, I haven't really done a deep dive into that. But so it gives our cells the nutrients that it needs. And how is it different than, let's say, something like you hear a lot about like Himalayan salt or all of these salts that also have like 80 plus different
Yeah.
minerals?
And they do, but they don't have that flavonoid capacity. So
Okay.
when you take a supplement, a mineral supplement, you can get minerals into your gut and you can get a certain amount into your bloodstream, depending on the health of your ability to your gut enzymes and all that to break it down, and then how healthy your gut lining is in terms of getting it into your bloodstream. But getting the minerals into the cells, that's another thing. And particularly
Okay.
for people who eat bad fats and those cell linings aren't very healthy in lots of people. So, so that, yeah. So
Would
that's
it
the
be
first. Oh, go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so would it be good for people who like have migraines and headaches? Like I'm guessing you're saying it's good for so many different things, but a friend of mine who suffers from migraines was saying that she was doing some like salt in like with water and bringing it into her cells, and she find it does help. But I'm guessing this would probably even work a little bit better than that.
It definitely would. So, because not only is it going to support her just getting minerals into her cells, it's also going to, like everything that she puts in her mouth, all of the nutrition that you eat, is going to have more possibility of making it into your bloodstream and making it into your cells where they can act, where those nutrients can actually make a difference. So, but the fulvic's not even done yet. So now it's in your cell, it's in this opposite polarity. Now it travels around your cell and it picks up the trash. It gathers
Mm.
biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, nanoplastics, free
Wow.
radicals have gotten into the cell, viral detritus, and now those things are clinging to it. The cell lining opens, and via diffusion, this natural process, it again, now it carries those things out into the bloodstream, and it changes its polarity again, and it drops them off in the bloodstream. So it's not just delivery mechanisms, actually intercellular transportation for nutrients in and
Brings
bio.
it in and out of the good stuff in and the stuff that's not so great out.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm like, well, what better thing is there, for not only just mineral replenishment, but nutrient replenishment and intercellular detoxification.
So then if it drops it off into the bloodstream, does it also help it to get rid of your like bring it to the gut to so that we can either poop it out or to the kidneys so we can pee it out or sweat it out? Like is there another delivery system that helps it remove it from our bodies? I mean, obviously our bodies are incredible and it does a lot of stuff, but it
And
does
this
it
is the humic molecule.
okay.
It's
There
things.
you go.
This is why I call them Mother Nature's mineral replenishment and detoxification technology, because the fulvic delivers nutrients in and carries the biowaste and toxins out,
Oh,
delivers into the bloodstream. And then
okay.
the humic molecule, which is a very large molecule relative to the cell, just hangs out in the bloodstream. I like to describe it because it's something people can imagine like a Velcro ball. So it's very sticky on the outside. It's one of the strongest electrolyte molecules known to man, has a huge amount of surface area. And it just travels through the bloodstream, picking up biowaste toxins like glyphosate, extremely effective, one of the
Really?
most
Wow.
well-known compounds for removing glyphosate from the gut, from your system, from tissues. It
Wow.
gathers free radicals, extremely effective antioxidant. It gathers spike proteins, nanoplastics, and heavy metals, and it sequesters them in the molecule. So the scientists that I know who are they're like the world-renowned humic and fulvic, they call humic like the God molecule. They're like, it's amazing what it can do.
It
And
reminds
so
me of black seed oil. It's like the two things like you hear about
that's
right? Like you hear black seed oil. Now I'm like humic and fulvic. It's like those are the two like we should all be taking on a daily basis.
exactly. Exactly. So, and that's one of the things that I take. Um,
Yeah,
so,
I know.
um,
It's amazing.
so humic, this molecule gets so heavy at a certain point, all these things are clinging to it, that it falls out of suspension and it leaves your body, Now, the cool thing about humic, and you think about something like this in nature, we talk a lot about detox and needing to have certain pathways open and not doing detox unless you have certain or sure those pathways are open. But humic will use every pathway. You see, it will use your tears and your sweat and your snot and
Wow.
your saliva and your earwax and rubbing just sloughing off cells as well as your urine and feces.
Interesting. So we'll take it
Yeah.
out in any way it possibly can. So
Mhm.
how much, how do you take it? So I know that you're drinking it. So those are your
How I take it.
so how should we take it? We just put it in water and drink it all day long? Can you, we should take it with food. I'm a big believer in taking minerals with food. I find I get nauseous if I take them without food. Is that what you recommend as well?
These will not cause any of that.
Any
So that's
nausea? Okay,
good.
good.
You do not like, you can take these for people who are intermittent fasters, or if they do water fast, ever, these are the best thing to
Okay,
take
good.
for fasting because they won't break a fast and they won't cause any kind of nausea or any discomfort.
Amazing.
Because they're trace minerals, usually a lot, the iron, and there's a few others that can cause that discomfort in the gut, and these don't do that. So the thing for just a regular person, you could just take your shots, put them in a glass of water, and you could, or in your water bottle, you could drink it through the day. For people who are not sensitive at all, they just take the shot. Okay.
Does it matter how you take it as long as you're getting it inside of you, or is it better to concentrate it?
No, you just, I mean,
Doesn't
so
matter.
our minerals are not concentrated, just to be clear. You take a half a cap, which is about a half an ounce of our electrolytes, which is the fulvic product, and half an ounce of the microboost, which is the humic product. Many
Okay.
people, because of the nutrient uptake aspect of the fulvic, they will take that in the morning, and they'll take the humic, which is more about a full system detox in the evening before they go to bed. But, you can see I just pour mine in my glass. Now, because I
Okay.
have autoimmune, because I have some mold stuff still working out of my body, because I have had long COVID. Before COVID, I never had any sensitivities to hardly anything except for gluten. But since COVID, I am very sensitive to detox responses when I take humic. So I couldn't take it as a shot, directly from the cap or something. So I pour it in my glass of water with my, 12 to 16 ounce glass of water. I drink it over, an hour, or, you could drink it over 15 minutes, no problem. But so that's the one thing I want to tell people, for people who are really sensitive with autoimmune or those things. Again, the body's an ecosystem. So what you want to do is introduce things a little bit slowly, give it a chance to adapt.
So when you say drink it over 15 minutes, is this not something you want to put in your water bottle and drink it all day long? Do they
You could.
disappear? Oh, you could? Okay. Just want to make
Absolutely.
sure like they don't
I'm
disappear
saying
like
shorter. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
it's great to, in fact, just so we're clear, one of the reasons that we're having so much mineral deficiency right now is because people are drinking bottled and filtered water, which is of
Mhm.
course needed. But I hear this so many times from women they got the RO filter, under the sink RO filter, reverse osmosis, and then 6 months later, they're like, what's happening with my skin and my hair is falling out? What is going on? And I'm like, it's the filter. You took all the minerals out, and slowly over
You have
time.
to remineralize it. Yeah, like we have an RO filter, but we remineralize our water, so that's very important.
And a good way to remineralize is just throw a splash of electrolytes in your
Yeah.
water, because they taste like water, so
Yeah.
they're not going to bother you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned iron before, and so for women in perimenopause, it's not as big of an issue, and in many cases, women are anemic. But what about in menopause? Because we have to be very careful with how much iron we take. So how does it work? How does that work with humic and fulvic minerals?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about humic and fulvic, because they have these natural um, uh, ratios, the ratios of minerals in humic and fulvic are actually designed in the same ratios of uh, uh, that you have as gut receptors for minerals. So the interesting thing is, in your gut, like you have your gut is lined with receptors, and you have a whole bunch of receptors for magnesium and a whole bunch for potassium and these other ones, the macro minerals that we use a lot of. But you also have smaller ratios of receptors for things like molybdenum, vanadium, selenium, chromium, iodine, all of them, you see. So if you can put the minerals into your body in those natural ratios and in this extremely bioavailable format, it makes them really easy. So especially for to get into your system, especially for people who have challenges in their gut enzymes, the acid in their stomach, or the lining of the gut, SIBO, IBS, all those kinds of challenges. The beautiful thing about the liquid ionic minerals is they require no digestion at all. So
Mm.
when I'm drinking this, because that fulvic molecule is so small, much smaller than a cell, it actually starts absorbing through the lining in my mouth, my throat, my esophagus. It doesn't require any breaking down.
So how much, for example, how much selenium would be or iron would be in, let's say, the half, like I guess it's 1 ounce by the time you take both?
Yeah. So so what happens is people always ask me how much. And what I've come to understand about minerals is I could tell you there's a certain amount of micrograms of iron in here. And because we're relating it to those RDAs of how much iron I need to have as input into my body, we're not actually recognizing that even if I take iron, only a very, very small amount of it ever
Is
ends up
getting
in my
absorbed.
cell.
Right.
So the cool thing about this, the question is not how much. I'm trying to get people to think about, rather than asking how much is in it, ask how bioavailable it is, because this is 100% bioavailable,
Yeah.
meaning your body, the minute that I drink this, the minute that I drink it, and we have this when we go to bike races. So we go to bike races and we stand at the aid station, and these cyclists come in and they're shaking and they're like cramping and they're like, oh
Oh
my
yeah, no,
God.
for sure. They need to
And they
replenish.
come over, yeah, and they come over to our thing and they take a, a cup of electrolytes, and literally 45 seconds later, they're like, whoa,
They
they
feel because it's
literally
replenishing
say
their
to us,
body.
like,
It's
what
great.
just happened?
That's
So,
great.
or we
So what you're
switch.
saying then about the iron is we don't have to worry, like it's not going to make someone have too much or basically throw off in menopause.
So there is, so for people who have hemochromatosis, so this is a
Hmm.
thing where iron builds up in their blood. I know of a product that you would use with our minerals, because it can exacerbate hemochromatosis over time. Like I'm talking 6 to 8 months, kind of not in a short time period. But if you take it's a clay product, it actually balances it and keeps everything fine.
It's a
Yeah.
clay product that pulls minerals from the body. What does the clay product do?
It actually binds some of the minerals, so it's just, I don't know, actually. The scientist who developed that, he said, oh, I've worked with hemochromatosis, no problem, use this. And so we started doing it. All the people were like, oh, I'm fine now.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about it in case
Yeah,
any of our listeners have
it's
hemochromatosis. I
not,
actually interviewed Dr. Christy Sutton, a
oh, good.
chiropractor who, yeah, she wrote a book on hemochromatosis. So we actually have an episode. I forget the number. So, but we'll put it below for you
Oh,
to listen
great.
to. But yeah, so I'd be interested to understand what that product is for people who have that and who still want to take the minerals. So
I'll
I think,
connect you up with the guy who developed it. His name is Ron Gorley.
okay,
Their product's called TerraPro.
okay.
It's a bentonite clay, but it's different than most bentonite clays. It has very specific capacities, because most bentonite clays are made in a saltwater system, and these were made in a freshwater system.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'd like to learn
they're
more
very
from him.
different. He's a chemist and very, very sciencey.
I like that. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, science, data, that's my jam. So, okay. So is there anything that we didn't really talk about that you want to share with our audience before we end the interview?
Yeah. I think that the thing that I want people to understand, and what I wish I had known when I was in perimenopause, is when we have a host of chronic symptoms, and that's what often happens, women hit into their 40s and late 40s, and then all these things start cropping up. And there's a term, they call it the hidden hunger. And it's actually micronutrient deficiency. So you have this feeling something's missing. You eat a meal, you open the fridge, you're like, hour later, you're like, I need something. And what I want people to think about is, what if it's not that you need to have a stronger willpower, or you need to make yourself go to the gym, or you need to, just be better. But what if all you have to do is take care of yourselves by providing that mineral, that foundational mineral content that can support your entire ecosystem at a foundational level. And then you'll just literally turn the dimmer up on your light, your energy system.
The other thing I'm thinking too is maybe, for those who who want to take it, maybe instead of taking it every day, can they do it every second day? Like maybe, or is it something that you have to do on a daily basis, or does it build up over time? Like, let's say, for example, like B vitamins. I don't recommend taking B vitamins every single day. Like 3 times a week is a good thing to do, but every single day I feel is a little too much. Is that the same thing like you would say with minerals? Like, are there different ways that we could take it, but still get the incredible benefits that something like minerals like humic and fulvic acid or humic and fulvic provide?
Yeah, that's fine. So the thing about trace minerals, these are trace minerals, okay? They're in very, very small amounts.
Okay.
And so you do need to take them every day.
Okay.
However, the beautiful thing about the liquid ionic minerals is they build up in your system over time. And we've shown this time and time again. People come to a
Amazing.
trade show and they have an oligoscan. So they scan to determine what their minerals levels are. And then they start taking our minerals and they come back next year and they do the scan and they're like, everything's good. And like, wow, that's cool. So yeah.
What are the different products that you have? So I see behind you, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you're listening, Caroline, if you can explain it. So I know that you have different products. You've mentioned electrolytes, you've mentioned the humic and the fulvic. Can you explain all the different product or different
Yeah.
options that people have to purchase?
Yeah, so we have an electrolyzed product, and electrolyzed is fulvic. It's the green bottle, okay? And we call it next generation hydration because because of that uh, ability to go across the cell wall, it helps the body hydrate. Where you want water to get is inside your cells,
Yeah.
okay? So it really helps with hydration. The beautiful thing about having it separate from the humic is you can use this as your electrolyte supplement, okay? If you don't
Okay.
like the salts that taste like salty stuff, or, if you don't like that, you can just use this. If you're a performance athlete, we work with a lot of performance athletes, and they start using this on a regular basis, they end up with no cramping, no, I mean, we have a tennis pro who is doing, all these events in Kentucky in the summer. And he's the only one coming off the courts without any cramping. They're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Here, have a shot."
I would think it's incredible for athletes too. I was just thinking for my daughter she plays rep basketball and she's like sweating profusely. She's constantly playing games and exercising. So I would think that would be so great for,
I've worked
active
with a lot.
people.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of youth athletes actually,
Yeah. I'm thinking that would be
particularly
so
who
great
really
for her.
struggle because not only are they doing that thing that adults do, their also bodies are developing.
Yeah.
The mineral requirements in their bodies are actually much higher. They have higher mitochondrial function, but when they're really active like that, they have much higher mineral requirements,
And
and
they're
that
not eating so great.
and they don't eat so great.
Like,
Right.
truthfully, like, let's be real, for my daughter, at least, like, I wish that, I mean, she's little, she's 13, but,
Mhm.
it's, yeah, that's great. Okay. So, and then you have the
The
blue
humic.
bottle.
So the humic is a blue bottle. And this one is the detox
Okay.
tool. Okay. It also supports, I didn't tell you one other aspect of the humic, which is really cool. It actually increases cell wall permeability as well. So it hangs out in the bloodstream, but interacts with the proteins in the cell wall. So it's if you're in a room right now and you have one door and one window and they're both open, so much can go in and out. But if you had four doors and four windows, so much more could go in and out. So again, how humic and fulvic work together, this creates more cell wall permeability. And then the fulvic in its flavonoid capacity carries those nutrients in, and that biowaste out through all of those openings. So they
I
both
love it. They're like the
uptake.
dynamic duo.
They really are. I say they're the one-two punch. So the thing about the humic, and nice that it's in this form, is for people who are sensitive. Lots of people are sensitive nowadays, particularly since COVID. Um, you can start really slow and titrate up. If you
Okay.
feel any, we have a great article, you could put it in your notes if you want, about detox symptoms with humic. So it demystifies it. Really what I want people to know is if you end up with any symptoms, that maybe a rash, or I get pimples, or you might get a headache, or you might get aching, and all you have to do is go much slower, like down to a quarter teaspoon in a glass of water.
But I want to emphasize the detoxification part because our body naturally detoxes, but we need help. Like we are bombarded by so many things in our environment. So having a product like that, I actually love it. Like it reminds me like things that are helping, like chlorella can help our bodies. Like, what you're talking about, humic acid, like these are things that help our body to get rid of things. And especially as we go into perimenopause and menopause, when things aren't as optimal as they once were, these are foods, these are supplements that we could take that can help our body along. And I love the fact that you're like, start smaller, you can get bigger, right? Because everybody, like you were saying, you don't have so when you were saying in the beginning, MTHFR, you're talking about your detox genes. What audience, what she's talking about is I'm guessing you had a genetic test done. So you know exactly how your genes are performing. I've done the same, which is why I know. So my detox genes are really good.
Hmm.
Caroline was saying that her detox genes are not so great. I do have the MTHFR gene mutation. So there are things, everybody is really different. So having things or taking things that will help us to detox is great. And doing it from you can start small, like you were saying, and then you can titrate up. But the important thing is to make sure that we're getting rid of the things from our body. That's where our nutrition comes in. That's why fiber is so important. That's why hydration is so important. All of these play a role together in helping our body to get rid of the things that it no longer needs, metabolize hormones, bacteria, everything, food, undigested food, things that our body just doesn't want anymore. So I like that it has a detox capacity or capability because in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That's another thing that I could take to help my body get rid of the things that I no longer want it to have, or it no longer wants, right?
And people get concerned about detox, and I understand. I've had terrible experiences with detox in the past. So people are afraid. They're like, I don't want to go into detox. And I understand that. What I always want people to understand is if you have a detox symptom, it's because your body's going, yay, finally, I can get rid of this stuff. And I'm going to try and do it all now because I have the opportunity to do it. And all you need to do is just dial things back and
Low
just
and
slow.
steady.
And
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
beautiful thing. Rather than doing a big detox protocol, as soon as you finish
No,
that protocol, you're again exposed to all these
no, yeah.
toxins. So why not just give your body the continual tool that just is going to constantly work in your bloodstream, gathering that stuff. I call it Mother Nature's janitor.
Well, I mean, I am not a fan of doing major detoxes, so I totally get it. I remember years ago, I did one when I went back to school, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a detox, and like I did I did like this whole protocol. I literally had auto intoxication because I wasn't going to the bathroom every day. I couldn't see out, like my eyes were all blurry. It was bad. So I am not a fan of doing a major detox by any means, but I am a fan of doing small daily things that can help your body, on a regular basis, do it naturally. So that I am a fan of. So that's why I like, like I said, something like chlorella, something like this, like fulvic and humic. These are things that are helping our body do it, and it's also helping us with remineralizing. So it does a lot of other things. But small, short, literally start slow and anything, whatever you're doing. And even even when we talk about our supplements, I'm always like, start slow. You do not taking a fiber supplement, please start with like a quarter of the dosage. Like, do not go in quickly because there's no reason to. You have to get your body, it has to adapt, it has to get used to it. Like, anyway, so we're on the same page there. I totally
I love
agree.
that. I
Yeah.
totally love that. So
Slow
the
and
other thing
steady
we
and
have
safe.
are fulvic sprays. So remember that fulvic molecule is so small that it absorbs through any tissue that it touches. So the cool thing about this, it's called Instalites. This is just fulvic and water. When you
Okay.
spray it on, it works incredibly well for all cramping in the body, including menstrual
Mm.
cramps, including tension headaches, including just a cramp. If you get cramping hands, cramping feet, cramping legs at night, you spray it on before you go to bed and you will not get the cramps
Oh,
because you're
that's amazing.
providing the minerals and that full spectrum of minerals to the local area, the muscles that tend to get overuse and tend to cramp. And I mean, the women who use it for menstrual cramping, they're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I finally
Oh,
have.
that's amazing. So you can just spray it right onto your body and then it gets instantly absorbed. Can you
Exactly. I
do
mean,
it on your face? Like you can do
oh,
it on
I
your face.
spray it on I mean, I use this first thing I do when I wake up, I spray this. I
Spray it
use
on
this.
your face. Okay,
I blow dry my hair with it. I spray it in after I shower, I spray it into my, for the hair follicles in
oh,
my
that's amazing. I
scalp.
love that.
So imagine being able to provide the full spectrum minerals to the
Amazing.
part of your body that is most exposed or tends to have overuse or tends to feel that cramping or muscle aches after the gym. Great. Yeah.
Does it help with things like eczema or
Mhm.
psoriasis or anything?
So, eczema I think that's the one that's the autoimmune. Um,
Psoriasis is autoimmune.
Psoriasis, I always mix them up. Thank you.
It's okay.
So we have had lots of people with psoriasis who have seen changes, and it's absolutely supported them. For psoriasis, we say take it internally is the best way because it's a systemic issue. I mean, they're both systemic. They're both ecosystem issues, right? So
Mm.
if you can take minerals inside and support the whole ecosystem, it's like all of the issues in your body start to become less and your body's able to do what it needs to do. Think about if you have your light burning at 40%, just even adding 20% can make a huge difference in how
Oh,
you feel.
huge. Well, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it. How can people learn more about you? We're going to put everything below anyways, but how can they reach out to you at your website and social media?
Yeah. So we have, of course, you can go to Instagram, Be Minerals. You can also go to our website, beminerals.com. I think we might have a discount code for you, for your followers, and I'm not sure what it is. Do you?
Amazing. We'll put it below. We will
Okay,
put it
yeah, since
below.
we both don't know, but that will give people 20% off if they want to try it. Um,
Awesome.
and the thing is our bottles are provide a 2 month supply. And what I want to tell people is when you're using trace minerals, you want to give it 2 months because
Oh, at least, at
yeah,
least.
at least
Yeah,
we
at
actually say
least.
6, but
Yeah, I was
if
going to say
you
at
go
least
for
2 months.
if you go for 2 months and you stop, you'll be like, oh, that's why I
Yeah,
didn't have that crash in the afternoon. Oh, the
yeah.
sleep and all these different things will start to adjust over time.
Yeah, yeah. You have to give things time to work, especially they're not when they're not medications. It takes time for your body to replenish it, depending how many years it took it to, to be deficient or to not have what it needs, especially if you're not getting it on a regular basis. So it takes time for the body to replenish. So I totally get that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this today. It was really nice meeting you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing about Beam Minerals. Again, we'll put all the information below. If you want to learn more about Caroline's company, everything will be below. And if you want to try Beam Minerals, we'll put a link below as well so that you can try it with the 20% discount code.
Andrea, thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Caroline as much as I did. I have been wanting to learn about humic and fulvic minerals for a while, so I'm really excited that Beam Minerals has come on as a sponsor for Menopause Reimagined. If you want to purchase their products, and we encourage you, please, to support our sponsors. We put a link to it below, and you can get 20% off, as Caroline mentioned. And please share this interview because the more you share shows you care. And please take a moment to rate and review our podcasts. I appreciate you spending the last little bit with me because I know there's a lot you can be doing, but instead you chose to spend your time with me. And for that, I am grateful. I'll see you at the next interview.